Okay. Here's a quick recap of my NQ short from this morning. I'll be going on my setup, the execution, and the outcome. Made $481 today. And here's how I did it. Okay, so in the pre-market, let's go in the 30-minute. You can see we have this 30-minute bullish fair value gap. And then if we go on the 1 hour, you can see we have this 1 hour bearish fair value gap. Now, pre-market, what am I looking for when it comes to these imbalances? To dictate order flow, I'm looking for which of these imbalances are being respected and which of them are being disrespected. And so, obviously, for the most part, an hourly fair value gap, this is just a rule of thumb, is going to hold more power than a 30-minute fair value gap. Okay. And so, when we have this big bearish imbalance and we see it getting traded up into, and we're putting in highs, in pre-market, we see these highs get taken and we see this sort of, rejection off of those highs. And we start to see, let's go on the 1 minute, like we're starting to see these 1 minute bullish imbalances getting disrespected. On the 5 minute, you can see this one gets inversed on this change in the state. And as you can see, that's right around where my entry was. So we ended up getting a 5 minute inversion right here. We ended up getting our change in the state right here. We didn't have a bunch of SMTs like we did yesterday, but SMTs are not essential for our model. They're always a plus, but they're not essential for the model. And today, if you were waiting for an imbalance to get filled, unfortunately, you didn't have an entry, kind of like yesterday. But like I said, once we had this change in the state and this inversion, I was confident in the draw. That was London lows, especially after mapping out this standard deviation. You can see it aligned with London lows. Um, so that in total gave me enough confluence to enter short, especially after just completely, like I said, running through this fair value gap and chaining state simultaneously kind of gives you the conviction that the draw is going to be lower. For take profit, we had this resting liquidity here, and we had London lows, and I was confident that the draw was all the way down to London lows. So I took the trade. I took the short. I take profits, London lows. As you can see, it plays out. Originally, we had some consolidation, and we ended up souping these highs, which I kind of wanted to see when we didn't have an imbalance necessarily to fill. So a lesson you can learn today, especially from this soup, maybe if you have this entry, is don't squeeze your stops. I was de-risked today. I was willing to risk this 3 minute bearish gap and this first presented fair value gap. I did this just to give the trade room to play out, especially when we didn't have an imbalance getting filled yet. Um, so that's essentially how I sized today's trade. That was my mindset when it came to my risk today. I knew that I was going to have to risk a decent amount. As you can see, the risk was literally 1 to 6 R or 1.6 R, sorry, which isn't that good, but I was confident in the draw. I took the short. I de-risked enough to risk the first presented in the 3 minute bearish gap just in case we did want to fill those. But in the future, I do want an imbalance to get filled when I enter. But obviously today, like I said, on the 5 minute, just a pretty significant inversion with the change in the state just really showed me where order flow was, in my opinion. So yeah, that's the trade today. Made $481. Currently on a 50K express funded, planning on taking a payout and scaling to more accounts. But right now, just rocking with the 50K. And yeah, that's the trade today. If we go over it one more time, I always like to go over it one more time. We had 8:30 news come out, make this high, aka trading into this 1 hour bearish gap. Looking to see if this 30-minute gap ended up holding, which also was really similar with this 5 minute gap, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, both of those got inversed eventually. And the 5 minute and the change in the state, that was what gave me the conviction to go short. Standard deviation aligned with London lows, gave me conviction that we were going to go further down. And just a little tip right here. 2 to 2.5 standard deviation is where we will expect price to make its biggest retracement, or I don't know if I like to use the term retracement, but leg back to the upside. So we can treat this kind of as a bullish gap here. As you can see, we tap into 2.5 standard deviation and we get a decently strong rejection leg. Not necessarily decently strong, but strong in terms of where the draw was and where order flow was, in my opinion. And yeah, and then we continue down to 4. So if you guys are using standard deviation on your trades, don't be afraid if at the 2 to 2.5 range you start to see it going in the opposite direction. As long as your imbalances are holding and order flow is still in your direction and the draw, you're still confident in your draw and the narrative is there. Don't squeeze your stops. Like I said, I had my stop all the way up here and we came down. Was this 60 points? Pretty solid. And yeah, that's the trade today. So, see ya.